Look at that, ladies and gents. We did not manage to cross that key zone that we had outlined on the most recent YouTube videos. So shout out to those of you that have been subscribed, smashing up those likes on this YouTube channel, because you have already seen exactly what we were talking about with regards to this price level here. This was our key invalidation zone where we start getting bullish above this line, but unfortunately Bitcoin has not been able to break above it, and that now does potentially mean that we have some significantly lower downside price action to cover on this channel. But before we start diving into the deep end on all of that, the first thing I want to tell you guys is that I might be live later on this YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. And the second thing I want to say is that we're still at an area of support, okay? What I said to you guys is that we have two invalidations. Again, if you're already subscribed, you would know about it. It was literally in just the last video that we were talking about this, where we had two invalidations. The first invalidation was if we managed to get above this level, we're very bullish again, and I'm expecting 67. We just couldn't get above it. Look at these wicks, right? We're on the 4-hour time frame. We zoom in onto the 1 hour. It was nasty, ladies and gents. There were forces that were stopping Bitcoin from getting above this level. But the second key invalidation that I was describing was getting below this wick over here. And the reason I was saying getting below this wick over here would be a disaster is because if we've already punched in this low, but then we drop below it, that implies... See, here's the thing that you've got to ask yourself, right? When you've got an area of support, which in this case was actually a lot higher than this wick, right? This is $60,600, but our real support was a little bit higher. It was more like, honestly, like up here, or anywhere kind of like down here, but not as low as 60.6. And so when we're dropping below these key levels of support, you could say like below this horizontal line, when we start dropping below these kind of areas where we've already established support, what the market is telling us is that we need to grab liquidity from lower levels, right? We have long positions that need to get stopped out, or not in this case, we have short positions that need to get stopped out. And that's what the market tells us when it goes down to grab liquidity. That's exactly what happened over here. Now, the thing is if you start to set a low, but then the market shows you that that wasn't enough and you need to actually revisit that low, well, then it comes back to the same thing. We need to grab liquidity from lower levels. Clearly, this wasn't enough if we're already revisiting this zone. Again, before we get too excited, I know the analysis on this channel is fucking mind-blowing. It's super accurate. I get it. Trust me. We've been doing this for 7 years. Standard procedure, ladies and gents. Before we get too carried away, we have to still ground ourselves by understanding that we are still in an area of support. In fact, if we look at this on the hourly time frame, we haven't even broken below that wick right here, okay? This all happened very, very recently, and it was a big, quick dump, by the way. I mean, staircase up, elevator down. So very, very quick on the way down, relatively slow on the way up, right? So that's not great. That's definitely a sign that things are looking weak, but we are still at an area of support, right? And I don't want to, fade that or not pay attention to it. But at the same time, I do want to stay very, very aware of the facts, right? Which are that previously we were bouncing off our support levels nice and quickly. If you take a look at these wicks, every time we came down to these lows, we didn't hang around at these very low price levels for long each time, other than now, and especially you can really clearly see how it got weaker, right? We can zoom in onto the hourly time frame to really get a nice intimate view of this, and it's unequivocally clear. One of the key concepts that we were talking about on this YouTube channel for quite some time. Nice big spikes here coming off these support levels, but clearly getting weaker, right? Before this support bounce, Bitcoin didn't mess around when it was punching in a low. It just punched in the low and it went straight back up, and it happened right before you even blinked. On this occasion here, you're not only are you blinking, you're taking a 2-hour afternoon nap. That's how slow this was for Bitcoin to recover. And so naturally, the next time we end up breaking the level, this can't come as a surprise. If you've been watching this channel, like I said, this stuff is, these are the things we've been seeing, kind of reading between the lines for quite some time. And we're not reinforcing that confidence by any stretch now, given that we've fallen back down to the same area. So while it is support, and this is exactly where you'd expect bounces to come in, and that's why I don't want to be overly bearish, we do have a situation now where, again, if we measure this from the low to, 4 days later, we're up by 15%, but to the current price, 9 days later, we're only up by 8%. You know, if you look at any of these other highs, I mean, you know, on this occasion, what was it? 9 days later, we were still up by like 18%. You know, 8 days later, we were up by 24%. If we measure this 9 days later, where were we? You know, on this occasion here, we were up by 15%. You know, this is not, you know, a good reaction after just over a week. And I think that's really important. Now, the other thing we need to look at is sentiment, right? Because if we do start to see that people are very bullish, then, you know, I'm gonna be a little bit more you know, worried about this thesis, right? Because right now it obviously looks really bad, but if people are, you know, responding to these levels the way they should, you know, which is, you know, anticipating support, then, you know, that's something which I'm going to keep an eye out for. But right now we have seen sentiment pick up a little bit, and, you know, this is something we're going to have to keep an eye out for. I mean, the next update is in 8.5 hours, and I don't really care about what happened yesterday because today was the day with the big price action, you know, and so that's important. But this is something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, you know, looking at things like Twitter as well to kind of gauge where sentiment is in this market. Now, if we take a quick look at the S&P 500 before we return to Bitcoin, today is the final day of the trading week for the S&P 500. We've still got over 4.5 hours left in this session at the time of me recording this, and we do have a nice big continuation here. We did gap up quite nicely here for this Friday candle. But there has been a small reversal since then. You know, it still looks pretty good. It's still flirting with those all-time highs. Could it retrace? Yes, absolutely. Should it retrace? Yes, absolutely. You know, but I don't want to hold my breath for that at the same time. If we do retrace, I am going to be conscious that this previous area of resistance should probably serve as support once more, and then allow the S&P 500 to potentially rally a little bit higher. So that's something which I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. And obviously, you know, in light of this, seeing Bitcoin's weakness, it is even worse. You know, if you're seeing a nice environment for traditional finance, but Bitcoin just isn't able to hang on, you know, that can definitely be a concerning sign of, you know, some blood yet to be spilled in these markets here. So that is something I'd be paying attention to. Look at this beautiful zone of support, right? This is the thing, is that I don't want to start overreacting until we actually break these areas. And it's the same thing that I was saying to you guys before a few days ago on this YouTube channel, which is that, you know, you can choose to operate in this market based off feelings or based off principles, but you cannot do both, right? And so in this situation, if you are operating based off feelings, then right now you're going to be feeling very scared and upset and worried. And I think you got some reasons to feel that because the market looks pretty shit right now. But, you know, if you're operating out of principle, then you're just going to wait for levels to be breached before you start drawing conclusions. And in fact, better than that, you're going to wait for the level to be breached, and then you're going to wait for the back test, which looks a little bit like this, and then you're going to start to get very bearish after this kind of confirms that the market has lost its way, right? Because you do oftentimes get back tests, right? Sometimes they happen pretty quickly, like right here, and then move down. Sometimes they'll take, you know, some more time, but, you know, back tests are actually pretty common, and they're actually the easiest trade types to make, in my opinion, as well. They have such good risk to reward ratio. They're actually quite scary to make as well because they're at market pivot points, but you know, these kind of things shouldn't be a concern, especially if you've got free capital on your side. These exchanges, which I've got linked for you in the description below, are giving you huge bonuses with capital that you can trade with. And so when you're operating with this free money, you just don't give a fuck. You can throw it anywhere you like, and any profits that you generate are yours to keep as well, which is super cool. So check it out with the links in the description. When you start trading, make your deposit on Bybit and start trading, you are going to get up to $30,000 in completely free trading capital. Any profits you generate are yours to keep. BingX, same deal here, but there's no KYC. So when you start trading, when you make your deposit and start trading on BingX without KYC, no pictures of yourself or your passport, you are going to get over $100,000 in bonuses, which is super, super cool. So definitely do check that out if it's something that you think you'd be interested in. Here is another look at, you know, the potential kind of bearish SR flip type situation that we could be looking at, where, you know, we kind of fall below this area and then drop a little bit lower from there. You know, and just kind of a nice visualization again of where some of our key areas of support could be on this chart if the price does end up slipping down from here. So that is super, super cool. Yeah, and if we do continue back onto the Bitcoin chart, if we do end up breaking this level, just like I've shown you briefly over here, I think some of the next key levels for Bitcoin to fall down to would be this, kind of local low that we set. That's going to be at about $56,000. If we end up breaking that, I think it's 52. And honestly, I don't have a lot of faith in this area of support. I don't actually think that this is going to be a particularly important price level for the market. And so I would be more interested in seeing the price kind of drop all the way down into the very low 50s, because there's going to be a lot of liquidations that'll happen right below this wick, right? You got to imagine a lot of stop losses were probably put down right here, so I think this is where a lot of them can kind of get swept up right here. I think this was clearly a big liquidity grab over here. And then obviously, yeah, we know the drill. We've been looking at this for a very long time, ladies and gents. If we do end up losing the 50K area, which is not a good area of support, then the best support that Bitcoin has, the closest good support Bitcoin has is $44,000. And that does represent the big 40% correction there. So obviously that would be fantastic if we managed to produce it. If we did come down this low, I don't think we would hang out here for long. In fact, if anything, I think your best case scenario is something a little bit like this, and you kind of muck around over here, and then you get a very quick, something like that, and then all-time highs. That's what I would anticipate. Having a kind of bearish summer makes sense. It's actually in line with Bitcoin's price action over the last years, and it's absolutely not a bad thing. It presents many, many great opportunities for us to be trading. Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum, altcoins, and so on start getting very interesting at times like this. So I'm actually I'm all for it. I think it's absolutely great. And we've got a lot of kind of reasons locked and loaded, ready to go that the market could and should be bullish on a macro scale later on this year, with things like the ETFs, with things like the rate cuts, which now are actually a little bit of a meme, but I think that they're actually, they're correct, and I think that's why it became a meme, but it's obviously not going to work on the market as quickly as everybody thinks it will. However, these factors are present, and they're still going to be present, toward the end of this year, and that's when I think, we've got a pretty easy. I don't know. It's very hard to say, summer is bearish and then autumn, winter is bullish. You're pulling that shit out of your ass. There's no way you can tell. But at the same time, the way things are kind of geared up right now, and just looking historically at how Bitcoin has performed, that is typically what we see. A bearish summer and a bullish winter. So it's something I'm keeping an open mind with for sure. Now, if we do end up bouncing off this price level, we're still dealing with the same key levels, in my opinion, right? If we manage to bounce off this zone, I want to see this level breached with this red line. Again, I'm super, super happy with this analysis. I think, a couple of viewers of the last video were a little bit unsure of what I was talking about. But, if you've been watching this channel for years, as we have been, very, very consistent for a long time, you're going to know that there's a method to all of this. We're not pulling this stuff, from our backside. We are basing this off facts and very reliable tools and indicators in the market. So that's something which you can definitely be rest assured you're getting here on this YouTube channel. And so I think that the invalidation is the same, right? If we manage to get above this high, we're going to be in a pretty good place. I still think that we'd be able to get up to 67 and even higher than that to 71, for example. So that's something which I would be interested in seeing play out. Let's take a quick look at some indicators on that note. We are now 13 and a half minutes into this YouTube video, and I haven't used a single indicator throughout this entire video. This also goes to show how good the analysis is. If you don't need to supplement your analysis with indicators because your core analysis is very strong, you're going to be in a very good position. You're going to feel very confident as an analyst and therefore confident as a trader. So we always want to work on getting our analysis solid without indicators. Indicators are crutches. Indicators are things that you use when you don't have good core skills. If you do have good core skills, you're not going to need them. But just like any supplement, when you've done the main work, when you've eaten the right nutrition and so on, you've gotten the right multivitamins in from your real food, it doesn't hurt to take some supplements on the side as well. And that's the way that I view these indicators. So definitely a good time to be getting into it, as we are approaching the end of this YouTube video. And like I said, I am looking to do a live stream later on tonight. I don't know if I will yet. It honestly depends more on the price action than anything. but you know, it is something I'm interested in doing. So just double check that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, and of course that you have that bell icon right here checked as well, so that you do get notified of my videos. It's obviously very time sensitive content. Now, if we look at this on the 4-hour time frame with the Ichimoku cloud, we have nothing here. However, on the daily time frame, we are slipping back into the same Ichimoku cloud. I was telling you guys earlier that we did manage to produce that bounce out of the cloud, and you know, I'm not going to expect much more from this cloud. I don't want to be so harsh. I actually love this indicator. I don't know why I don't give it more love on this channel. It is one of my favorite indicators ever. I've been using it since 2018. By the way, if you guys want an updated Ichimoku video, let me know. Tell me in the comment section. I want an updated Ichimoku video. The last time I made this video was like around the time before my voice even cracked. It was in 2018, I think. So if you want to see an updated version of that with a only slightly more mature version of Sammy, then please let me know in the comment section below, and I would be super happy to do that for you guys this year in 2024. Not this year, but like, I don't know, in a few days, whatever. And yeah, so, you know, I think, you know, dropping a little bit lower would make sense. There's space for this to drop down as low as 56k as far as I'm seeing here. You know, and let's take a look at momentum here. Daily momentum has not been particularly clear. However, it has definitely rejected Bitcoin despite not even having a spread, which is interesting. You know, I wouldn't really put too much weight on this, but the market cared. So, yeah, that's interesting. And, you know, if we take a look at this on a smaller time frame, you know, 4-hour, we have absolutely nothing. 1 hour, we don't have anything either. So lots of indecision on these smaller time frames, right? You can see this with the Ichimoku cloud as well. Just nothing's really working. You know, we're flip-flopping. You know, I mean, this is chop. This is where a lot of traders are kind of suffering a little bit. So you know, this is something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. You know, it'd be nice if we maybe even, you know, trade sideways for a little bit, or maybe this becomes like a bit of a, you know, kind of diagonal downward trending parallel channel, and then maybe we break out, right? That's definitely not something I would want to completely rule out. You know, again, here's another illustration of how previous bounces were pretty clean, but this one is not, you know, and like I said, we do still have 8 hours left on this candle, so I don't want to act like, you know, we're doomed, but, you know, it's certainly not a good place, you know, the way this candle has, you know, shown up so far on the daily. And here's another look at our long-term resistance trend line here, and how that could serve to give us further resistance in this market. I'm not too worried about this kind of thing. I don't actually like diagonal trend lines too much, which is why I don't really show you them on this channel, but I know other people do, and I think that some of you might find this interesting. The bottom line is I'm not worried. You know, I think a lot of people are going to start to get worried now, and if they do, then maybe I'm going to be a bit more bullish at this support area. You know, it's just one of those things that I want to continue to watch how it plays out, but the bottom line is, you know, I mean, we can, you know, and I've been saying this for a long time, that we can drop as low as $30,000. And in my opinion, we're still really, really bullish, you know. In fact, dropping down to $30,000 would make me more bullish than setting a brand new all-time high, because it means that the market has reset, you know. So I think that would be absolutely great. I don't know if we're ever going to get it, and I don't want to keep holding my breath for it at this stage, but you know, it is one of those things where we've got a really good chart. You know, we can drop down to 52 and we're at a good area of support. We can drop down to 44 and we're at a really good area of support, and we're fulfilling a typical 40% correction. And in fact, what we would be seeing is that after all of these ETFs were launched, the narrative of everyone, you know, pumps themselves up with a jetpack to all-time highs, and that these really smart people that have got very deep pockets are going to make the poor guy rich. You know, these ideas are going to start to get dispelled a little bit, and what we're probably going to see is that the ETFs start buying, you know, ETF buyers start buying at lower levels, while, you know, normal people, retail traders, actually start panic selling. And honestly, if we see that, I mean, you know, I hate to see it because I want the little guy to be rich, right? Everybody does. But if we do see that, that would be the most bullish thing I could see, because it would indicate that the wealth transfer is happening correctly, because the correct way that these things work is that money moves into the hands of the already wealthy. Money moves into the hands of the already rich. Correct, not morally, but correct in terms of the system, and how the system has been working for hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is how money works. So when you start to see that shift, that's when you start to see really good things happening in the market. And we've seen this before, by the way. If we take a look at this in 2018, the best example of this that I've seen in front of my eyes when I was younger was Bitcoin, trading at about $6,000, and JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon, I said it right correctly this time, Jamie Dimon, not that I give a fuck about how to say his name. He was talking a lot of shit about Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was, kind of trading over here. And, it was a fearful time for the market. People were definitely a little bit worried. And the result was a major 50% crash, which obviously I traded and made money on. And then I traded the subsequent move up, because that's not enough, ladies and gents. That was all super, super cool. And by the way, that was all shared inside of the VIP program. Those of you that are interested, we have launched our 12-week coaching offer. We've already had some really nice uptake on that, but those of you that want to work directly with me for 12 weeks straight, this is the most powerful offer I've ever made. It is not cheap, and it is very serious, but if you are interested, then please do reach out with this direct contact link to me and just ask me for a little bit of information, and myself or a member of my team will get back to you shortly. Move back to the chart though, and Jamie Dimon's talking a lot of smack about Bitcoin down here, and then it's revealed down here, it's actually revealed later on when we leave, that his company was buying Bitcoin down here, right after he was talking shit about it. And obviously this is the drop where a lot of retail traders sold, and this is the accumulation zone where a lot of smart money bought, so we've seen this happen before. And the point I'm making is that when that happens and we start to see smart money buying at these kind of price areas, that is your really strong, all right there, buddy. That is your really strong indication that, we're now ready to start pumping up, right? It's when the wealthy people have accumulated their, Bitcoins in this situation at low price levels that they are happy with. It's when that happens. That's when, the real moves start. And I just don't know if that's happened yet. We have seen really nice inflows into the ETFs. Don't get me wrong. But on a more common sense scale, because I don't want to throw it out of the window, unlike most crypto traders, I don't think that we've seen, anything close to what we actually can see. And I don't think that we will until, that wealth transfer happens. It sounds almost very prophetic, but, you know how the world works. You've made it 22 minutes into this YouTube video. You understand the game, The wealthy people don't make the poor people rich. It's always the other way around. And I think it's going to be the same thing now. So this is something I'm going to keep watching out for. We're very, very close to that low. We're too close for it to be bullish. I don't really see the silver lining here, but I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm not in a short. I'm still in my long from $21,000. So whatever, I couldn't care less what happens, from that perspective. But from the perspective of taking new trades, I think, we're so close to dropping below that wick. It might even happen right after this video. So we've just got to wait and see how it plays out. And all of our levels are very clearly marked out anyway. So there you go, ladies and gents. I hope you have enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have. Smash those likes up, subscribe, tick the bell, do all of that beautiful stuff. Take advantage of these huge offers as well. Like I said, one of the easiest ways to be fearless in the market is to trade with less amounts of money or to trade with free money. You're not going to care what happens with free money, especially if the exchange gives it to you, because, it's a big company giving you free money. Forget about it. Doesn't matter what happens to them. So check it out if you're interested. They're giving you huge bonuses. All you've got to do to get these bonuses is make your deposit and start trading using my link. Obviously, BingX giving you over $100,000 in bonuses as well, with no requirement for KYC. So that is super, super cool. 2bit, another great alternative. I don't know if it's still in the description though. I'm going to have to check that. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you all very much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.